So it looks like Xbox Series X uses only 40% of RDNA 2 features, mainly due to the lack of documentation and lack of support for these particular features from Microsoft. Let's look into this. Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. So today I would like to talk about Xbox Series X specs and RDNA 2 architecture. Now on this channel I covered quite extensively all these RDNA 2 features that should boost Xbox Series S and X performance in games. Now sadly it sounds like Xbox, or should I say Microsoft really, did not get all these features ready on time, and we knew about it already because we did hear all about the tools and tools not being ready and all kinds of different issues with dev kits and stuff in the past. But it sounds like 2 years into this generation, some of these features are still not ready. Some of these features lack documentation, like for developers. Some of these features are not even implemented, so developers, even if they really wanted to use them, they can't, right? So that's kind of weird, to be honest with you. And by the way, this information is a courtesy of Colt Eastwood, so you will find his video in the description below, so you can actually check his video out, obviously, because he's really the source of this information. And by the way, for those of you that want to know, like, Colt is actually pretty close to a lot of developers and actually people at Microsoft, right? So I would assume that he knows what he's actually talking about, right? And to be honest with you, if this is true, that's kind of bad. And I get it, Xbox Series X actually performs quite well in a number of games, but the games we are actually really playing right now are cross-gen titles, right? So yes, these titles, like for example Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2 runs at 4K 60, well, I reconstructed of course and using dynamic resolution scaling, but still 4K 60 frames per second, or like lower resolution but up to 120 frames per second. So it looks like there's actually quite a lot of power in that console per se, at least raw power that allows these cross-gen titles to actually run really well on this console. But at the same time, in order to push, I guess, gaming forward and a lot of these next-gen games forward, well, developers sooner or later will have to start implementing these next-gen features into their game engines. And well, they can't really do it if these features are not really supported by the hardware. I mean, yes, they are built into the actual hardware, right? So these features are there, but without proper software, without tools, again, yes, guys, we're talking about tools again. Well, developers can't use them, right? They, all these features, like, no, I'm not saying that all of them, but, features need drivers, APIs, etc., the whole communication kind of layer. Obviously, they need, on top of that, like, instruction how to implement, etc. So that's on Microsoft. And, if we were to believe what Colt Eastwood is saying, sounds like Microsoft is to blame for delaying at least some of these features. And I'm not talking about all of them, because obviously we know that VRS is there already. Some developers are actually using it. Ray tracing is there as well. Some features of velocity architecture apparently is being used, but we don't really know which one. For example, I can tell you straight away that I don't think that the compression block is actually used at all, because number of games on Xbox are actually much take more space on the hard drive on the actual SSD than in comparison to like PlayStation 5s, for example. So I don't think that the actual decompression block is being used right now. I'm just guessing, I don't have that information. Colt didn't really specify really well which features we are still waiting for. But I guess like we kind of see some of them, right? Like SFS is probably still not used. Now the question is it because Microsoft did not get that working on their console yet, or is that just developers haven't had a chance to use it? And if it kind of makes sense, to be honest with you, if you really think about it now, because for a long time I was thinking like, why these developers are kind of like really so harsh on Xbox Series S, for example, right? And it kind of makes sense, because if Microsoft is not providing them with these whether documentation or even like support for some of these features, I mean, they can't utilize it, so they can't really take advantage of Xbox Series S, and they have to rely on just the raw power, raw capabilities of these consoles, of this specifically this console. Because with Xbox Series X, for example, that console is way more powerful. So, with Xbox Series X, some developers just can push stuff to the limits, because there's just like raw power there. It's not the case with Xbox Series S. In order to really fully utilize Xbox Series S, devs needs to start these next-gen features like SFS, velocity architecture, the compression block, and sounds like a lot of these features are not being used. Like, yes, VRS is kind of cool, and we know that some developers did use it, but just like Colt said, like 30 or 40% of these features are being used right now. Like, obviously SSD is kind of this next gen feature and that kind of stuff, right? But I think that I guess we can go by what has been already implemented on PC and console. So if something is not on PC, it's probably not on console either. So I would imagine that like direct storage is still not fully supported. I mean, direct storage API is there, but it still doesn't support decompression, for example, right? Like, I'm talking about Windows, I'm talking about PC right now. So if it's not on Xbox, if it's not on Windows on PC, it's probably not on it's not supported on Xbox either. So well, you can look at this two ways. One way to look at it is, it's a bad news, because, well, Microsoft is kind of getting, it's really sad to see these features still not being supported 2 years into this generation. The question is, how long will it take them to actually implement it? Another feature that I would actually love to see, obviously, and we still haven't really seen anything, heard anything. Obviously, I'm talking about the machine learning based upscaling, right? Still haven't really heard anything from Microsoft about it. So obviously, that one way of looking at it all is that, it's a bad look on Microsoft and Xbox, because 2 years into this generation, they are still not supporting some of the most basic next-gen RDNA 2 features. But I guess the other way to look at the whole situation is to basically look at it from a perspective, so if 60% of RDNA 2 features are still not supported and developers are not really taking advantage of it, and Xbox Series X still running games pretty well, just imagine what's going to be happening with these games when these features will be finally utilized, because that will happen at some point in the future. So I guess, I'm actually more into this first kind of group. I was just shocked to actually hear that Microsoft is still not supporting some of these features. I'm kind of like 2 years into this generation, guys, and you're still waiting. And don't get me wrong, I'm sure that there's like legitimate reasons for that, why Microsoft's still not supporting it. Maybe they are waiting on AMD for some support. Who knows, right? I don't know. I'm not here necessarily to blame Microsoft for everything that is going on here, but hey, it's still a bad look in my opinion, right? I know that most people just want to play games, but for those that actually kind of pay attention to these kind of news, like more tech related news, it's just a bad look. That's my opinion. So anyway, guys, we'll see how that goes. As soon as I hear more about it, I'll let you know. And as always, let me know what you think about it. Comment in the comment section below. Hit the like button. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. And I will see you all in the next one. Take care.